If this story touched you, stayed with you, or felt a little too real, please take a moment to like this video. Subscribe for more honest human stories about love, loss, and survival. Your support truly matters and helps this channel grow. Thank you for listening, for feeling, and for being here until the very end. I saw her for the first time on a cold October evening, when the leaves on the trees in the small Ohio city of Toledo had turned yellow and people were buttoning up their coats. I was sitting on a bench in Riverside Park, a cheap cup of coffee in my hand, the kind you get for $3 at Maple Street Diner. There were still 4 days until my paycheck and my credit card was already maxed out. Love is not supposed to happen at times like that. But love has a habit of arriving at exactly the wrong moment. Her name was Elena. She walked fast as if time itself were chasing her. Her hair was always a little messy and there was that exhaustion in her eyes, the kind only people recognize who live paycheck to paycheck. She stopped near me and asked, "Can I sit here?" I nodded. That was my first mistake. She didn't talk much. She listened more than she spoke. I wasn't someone who talked a lot, but in front of her words seemed to come out on their own. I told her I worked in a warehouse, night shifts, with back pain as a permanent companion. She told me she was a nursing assistant pulling double shifts, yet still barely covered by health insurance. We laughed, but the laughter carried weight. It wasn't light. It was the kind of laughter people used to survive. A few weeks later, she started coming over to my apartment. A tiny place on Cherry Street with old paint on the walls and a heater that broke down more often than it worked. We ate ramen noodles and shared frozen pizza. She would say, "We're not rich, but we're not fake either." I believed that was the greatest wealth a person could have. Then I said that sentence to her. "You're not my habit," I said. "You're my need." She laughed. That laugh, the one that later echoed in my ears long after she was gone. "Then take care of it," she said. "A habit can fade, but a need can destroy you." At the time I thought she was joking. I was wrong. The problem was never love. The problem was life. The electricity bill. School fees for her son from a previous relationship. His name was Lucas, 8 years old, obsessed with soccer, always running even when there was no ball. Credit card statements that turned redder every month. And above all, exhaustion. I started getting angry, but I had learned how to keep anger under control. Show anger in a warehouse and you lose your job. Show it at home and you lose your relationship. Elena grew quieter. She started picking up calls late. Her messages became shorter, stripped down to the bare minimum. One night she came back from Westfield Mall with too many shopping bags. I didn't say anything, but questions burned inside me. The next day I saw a name on her phone. Mark. I didn't ask. That was my second mistake. Mark was real. Single dad. A decent car. Regular hours. Better health insurance. He was everything I wasn't. One evening Elena told me the truth. We were sitting at Maple Street Diner. Snow was falling outside, thick and quiet. "I'm tired," she said. I didn't reply. "You're good," she continued, "but being good isn't always enough." That night she left. No drama. No screaming. Just one suitcase and one last look. The world didn't stop. The pallets at the warehouse were the same. The bills kept coming. The bench in the park stayed exactly where it was. I was broken, but I wasn't scattered. I took overtime shifts. I started going to the gym despite the back pain. I cut up my credit card and learned to live on cash. For the first time in weeks, some money remained from my paycheck. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Months later I ran into Elena again. Riverside Park. Lucas was with her. Mark was nowhere in sight. She looked tired, but there was a strange calm in her eyes. "You've changed," she said. I smiled and replied, "I had to." There was no going back. No apologies were demanded. Just the truth. Today I am alive. My breaths still carry her name, but I own them now. That is justice. But if this were only a story about losing someone, it would be too simple. What stayed with me was not just Elena. It was the quiet education that followed her absence. I learned how fragile love becomes when survival takes up all the space in your chest. I learned how money, or the lack of it, can speak louder than promises. And I learned how silence can be louder than shouting. I began to notice the details I had ignored before. The way the warehouse lights flicker at 3 a.m., making everyone look older than they are. The way coworkers talk about 401k, as they barely understand, and student loans they may never finish paying. The way America looks different when you are standing on the edge of financial collapse, trying to smile anyway. Lucas crossed my mind often. I wondered if he still played soccer, if he had learned any new tricks, if he still ran like the world couldn't catch him. I wondered whether Elena slept better now, whether exhaustion had finally loosened its grip on her shoulders. I didn't hate her. I couldn't. She chose stability over struggle, and I couldn't blame her for that. There were nights when loneliness pressed down so hard it felt physical. Nights when the heater broke again and I lay awake fully dressed, listening to the city breathe outside my window. But there was something different in me now. I wasn't waiting anymore. I wasn't hoping someone would rescue me from my own life. Slowly, I began to understand what she meant when she warned me about needs. Love, when it turns into a need, becomes a weight. And when two people are already carrying too much, something has to be dropped. I still go to Riverside Park. I still sit on that bench sometimes. I still buy cheap coffee from Maple Street Diner. But I sit differently now. My back is a little stronger. My mind is clearer. I don't confuse survival with failure anymore. This is not a story with a reunion. It's not a story with a dramatic ending. It's a story about learning how to stand upright after being bent for too long. About understanding that sometimes love doesn't leave to punish you. It leaves to teach you. And I learned.